Welcome to Fission City, a polluted and crime-ridden urban dystopia where traffic jams are constant and horrific genetic mutations roam the streets. Street Sharks wasn't the best nor the most original, but it was one of the most popular shows of the 1990s, an instant hit and a short-lived but vivid pop culture phenomenon. To understand the Street Sharks' popularity, we need to understand the success of the toy line. And to do that, we need to go back to 1994 and relive the fantastic development, the Jawsome history, and the shark-tacular legacy of the Street Sharks. Like many animated series, the story of the Street Sharks begins with a toy line. And like most toy lines, theirs begins 3 or 4 years before the toys ever hit the shelves. In the early 1990s, writer Joe Galliani was approached by David Siegel of Streetwise Designs to develop a concept for a toy to be pitched to toy manufacturer Mattel. Galliani had already worked at Mattel during the 1980s, writing copy and speeches for executives, as well as arranging displays for Mattel during line preview meetings with toy buyers, work that gave him valuable insights into the toy market. Siegel understood that children, especially young boys, enjoyed anything to do with both dinosaurs and sharks. And having already enjoyed success producing toy dinosaurs, Siegel suggested a line of toy sharks. Galliani developed an outline for the entire franchise, including bios and origin stories for each character, 2 or 3 years of development of vehicles and playsets, as well as an outline for an animated series, an inevitability were Mattel to greenlight the product. Galliani used his connections at Mattel to set up a meeting where he and David Siegel pitched their idea, based around 4 brothers who are transformed into humanoid man-fish by the evil Dr. Piranha. Siegel insisted that the name somehow reflects the name of his company, Streetwise Designs, and the idea pitched to Mattel executives was Street Sharks. The executives agreed to the idea before that first meeting was over, and this would be Joe Galliani's first and ultimately only successful toys pitch. The toys tested well initially, and due to their other toy lines testing poorly, Mattel fast-tracked the Street Sharks to debut at the upcoming Toy Fair in February 1994. The North American International Toy Fair, New York, February 1994. Kenner reveals the first series in their licensed Jurassic Park movie tie-in. Todd McFarlane displays prototypes of his Spawn line, and Mattel reveals their product line for the upcoming year, and among them prototypes of Mattel's Street Sharks toy line. The first wave of figures released by Mattel had a total of 7 pieces. The 4 main sharks, brothers Ripster, Blades, Jab, and Big Slamu, and 3 of the villains of the series, mad scientist Dr. Paranoid and his 2 mutant henchmen, Slash and Slobster. Mattel hired a then-unknown Vin Diesel to demonstrate the new toys, footage of which was captured by Entertainment Tonight. The actor reportedly worked for 2 weeks, making upwards of 20 presentations a shift, and many credit the early success of the Street Sharks to Vin Diesel's enthusiastic demonstrations of the product.
Head shark!
Mattel announced the Street Sharks as a major new boys action figure property tied to a planned animated series. The company's internal product catalogs for 1994 listed the launch window as the 3rd quarter of that year, and the Street Sharks Series 1 figures were shipped to stores in July 1994, 2 months before the cartoon's scheduled debut. The toy sold quickly, becoming one of Mattel's most successful boys action figure lines of 1994, and Street Sharks became a strong competitor to Playmate's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line. Kids loved the bright colors and bold designs of the muscle-bound sharks with attitude, big teeth inside exaggerated jaws, and the toys were packaged in distinctive cage boxes with plastic bars mimicking a shark diving cage, complete with bite marks. Toy critics at the time recognized the line as an obvious derivative of Ninja Turtles, but praised its build quality and over-the-top fun. Mattel wanted a media tie-in to drive toy sales, a tried and tested strategy proven successful by TMNT as well as Mattel's own Masters of the Universe franchise. And to bring Street Sharks to the screen, Mattel partnered with Fission City, a prolific animation studio responsible for a string of animation series throughout the 1980s and 90s. To develop the series, Deke brought in staff writer Phil Harnage, who served as head writer for the first season, having recently developed the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, where he was responsible for writing the series Bible and establishing the tone and humor of the show, which blended slapstick comedy with broad parodies of popular culture. Harnage was joined by Martha Moran, also an experienced TV writer who had already recently written with Phil Harnage for the latest Deke series, Double Dragon. Moran wrote the first 3 episodes of Street Sharks, which together made up a mini-series pilot for the show. Brought in to direct was Ron Merrick, known for his work on Captain Planet and Sonic the Hedgehog, and who also produced the first season along with Michael Maliani of Geek Animation City. The Street Sharks cast featured a blend of experienced and emerging voice actors, many of whom were Canadian performers from the Vancouver animation scene. And while production staff saw several changes over the show's run, the core voice cast remained consistent across its 3 seasons. Street Sharks takes place in Fission City in the not-so-distant future. A front page of a newspaper in episode 4 denotes the year 2000, and Fission City is a portmanteau of the words fish and fusion, foreshadowing the show's major themes. The premise of the series is laid out in the first 3 episodes, which were combined into a feature-length format called The Gene Slamming Begins. Dr. Robert Bolton and his mentor, Dr. Luther Paradigm, 2 professors at Fission State University and pioneers in the field of genetics, have created a machine known as the Gene Slammer, which is capable of changing aquatic animals into anthropomorphic hybrids by combining their DNA, a process known as gene slamming. Paradigm begins by combining the DNA of a lobster and a swordfish with that of Genghis Khan and Captain Blood, who ironically is actually a good guy in the eponymous 1922 novel. When Dr. Bolton tries to stop the experiment, Paradigm transforms him into a hideous unseen monster. But Bolton manages to escape, and Paradigm's first successful experiments, Slobster and Slash, become part of what Paradigm calls the Seviites, his group of mutant sea creature henchmen. Paradigm then kidnaps Dr. Bolton's 4 teenage sons, John, Clint, Bobby, and Coop, and performs a similar experiment on them by splicing their DNA with that of 4 different types of sharks. John, the oldest and smartest of the brothers, becomes a hybrid of a human and a great white shark, nicknamed Ripster. Clint, the slacker of the 4, is transformed into a hammerhead shark hybrid, nicknamed Jab. Bobby, the rollerblading ladies' man, is transformed into a tiger shark hybrid, nicknamed Streaks, and Coop, the powerhouse and the youngest of the 4, becomes a whale shark hybrid, nicknamed Big Slamu, and is known for his seismic slam, which enables him to shake or crack the ground with his fists. The sharks are extremely powerful, able to bite through practically anything, even steel, and are able to perform their signature move, a shark dive, the ability to dive underground and tunnel even through concrete as though it were water.
Tooey, I feel like an earthworm. Next time, keep your mouth shut.
The Street Sharks maintain 2 trusted allies at the bioengineering department at Fission State University. The first is Lena Mack, a student of Dr. Paradigm's. Dubious of the activities of a faculty advisor, Lena helps the Sharks with info leaked to her by Dr. Bolton via email, still a novel technology in 1994. Their other ally is Benz, the comic relief of the series, and Fission University's technical genius, who supplies the Street Sharks with their motorbikes and weapons, and builds them a base of operations underneath the university's ice skating rink. It's Benz who gives the Sharks their name in the first episode.
We're opening a new ride, the Street Sharks.
Street Sharks? I like it. I like it!
When Benz is captured by Dr. Paradigm in the second episode, the street sharks rescue him, and during the resulting battle, Paradigm is inadvertently injected with piranha DNA meant for Benz, and his subsequent transformation earns him the nickname Dr. Paranoid, as he partially transforms into a piranha hybrid when angry. Later, Paradigm dons a giant yellow robotic exoskeleton, complete with harpoons, and when in public wears a robe to hide his exoskeleton. For the rest of the first season, the sharks are painted as the villains by Paradigm, who is made the city hero, and whose dream is to subject everyone in Fission City to gene slamming, or as Paradigm prefers to call it, involuntary genetic upgrade. Other recurring characters included Guy in the Sky, Fission City's local shock jock reporter, who is heard but never seen, and whose sensationalism plays a role in turning public opinion against the sharks. Mayor Moreno is the mayor of Fission City and who is often relegated to simply being a pawn in Paradigm schemes. And Detective Michael Brock is a police detective who investigates the disappearance of Dr. Bolton and the activities of the sharks, but is also sympathetic and allies with them from time to time. A major arc of the series was the sharks searching for their missing father, who is still alive but remains an unseen character lurking in the background and assisting the sharks from a distance. Street Sharks debuted on September 7, 1994, and was syndicated as part of Bobot Entertainment's Amazing Adventures programming block. Another 10 episodes would follow in the first season, during which other characters were introduced, many of whom were then added to the Street Sharks toy line to be released in subsequent waves over the next 2 years. One of the more memorable of these new characters was Moby Lick, originally Jet Taylor, a good friend of Ben's and the Bolton brothers before they were transformed. Moby falls victim to Dr. Paradigm's mind control and is combined with the DNA of a killer whale as a new recruit to the CBites, but later breaks free of Paradigm's mind control and becomes an ally of the Street Sharks. Introduced in the 6th episode was Rox, originally Melvin Kresnick, an up-and-coming musician who is mistakenly combined with the DNA of a bull shark and exposes Dr. Paradigm's plan to change Kresnick's audience into mutants. Thereafter, Rox continues as a rock star by explaining his altered form as a costume and remains a friend of the sharks. Other characters were added to the CBites henchmen, starting with Killamari, who had already been introduced in the first wave of toys, and Reptile, an eel hybrid, who was later added to the third wave of toys. Reptile was the only one of the CBites to have originally been human. Hotel owner Mr. Cunnyworth, whose hotel was wrecked by the sharks in a fight with the CBites, and who then develops a grudge against the sharks and willingly allows Paradigm to gene slam him with a moray eel and an electric eel in an attempt to help destroy the sharks. Street Sharks is fin-kicking, jawsome fun and unapologetically absurd. Very much a product of 90s extreme culture. Gene-slamming Saturday morning cheese with heavy metal fever dreams, marinated in endless shark puns.
Jawsome! Let's kick some fin!
Whoa, fin mail!
Watch your tail, bro.
We're supposed to be fincognito, right? Totally clandestine. I'm gonna tear you a new blowhole!
The Street Sharks are an obvious ripoff of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but which updated the mutant hero theme for the next generation and dialed it up to 11, as the Street Sharks are supported by an entire cast of aquatic cartoon abominations. And between the constant action and destruction set to a soundtrack of thrash metal and cyberpunk synth textures, there's rarely a quiet moment. A running gimmick throughout the series was to include the word shark in the title of every episode. And as a result, we're left with a list of episodes with names like Card Shark, Lone Shark, Jurassic Shark. You get the idea. And because the series is set in the future, writers were able to dodge complaints of violence by substituting guns with lasers, as well as shoehorn in fantastic vehicles and weaponry included in the toy line. Beneath the camp lies a darker thread. Genetic mutations, corporate greed, environmental damage and urban decay, interlaced with grotesque body horror elements. Cyberpunk to its core, and like many great cyberpunk works before it, Street Sharks incorporated neo-noir vibes at times and juxtaposed this technological advancement with societal decay. Thanks in large part to the animated series, retailers reported the toys selling out during the 1994 holiday season, and by the end of the first season, Street Sharks trailed only behind Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles, generating $40 million in toy sales in its first full year. Building on the frenzy from Wave 1's 1994 holiday launch, Mattel's second wave of Street Sharks action figures hit the market in the second quarter of 1995, aligning with the ongoing buzz from the show's first season, which wrapped its initial episodes by January 1995. A second season of 19 episodes followed, with Ron Harris taking over producer and director responsibilities from Ron Murek. And with that, the show was revamped from the first season. We go from gene slamming to time slamming as the season opens with Paradigm having developed a time-traveling machine which resulted in the Sharks and others traveling back and forth through time throughout the season. Secondary characters like Lena, Dr. Robert Bolton, and the Guy in the Sky largely disappeared, only making sporadic appearances, while the original Seviites, Lobster and Slash are completely and inexplicably dropped from the show at the beginning of the second season. Killamari and Reptile remain, with Killamari becoming the more prominent of the two, and the Seviites are joined by Shrimp Louie, a weak and cowardly mutated shrimp. The second season also introduced recurring mutant allies to the Sharks, like Manta Man, who was Dr. Terrence Morton, who got gene-slammed with the DNA of a manta ray, and El Sordo, a circus performer who got combined with the DNA of his pet swordfish and remains active as a professional swordsman. Even the President of the United States becomes a recurring character and a close ally of the Street Sharks after his vice president gets gene-slammed by Paradigm, and the Sharks save the president from a similar fate. Unfortunately, the animation quality took a noticeable dip from Season 2 onwards. DiC had outsourced much of the animation for Season 1 to South Korean animation company Plus One Entertainment, known in the West primarily for their work on Beavis and Butthead and later King of the Hill. But the subsequent seasons of Street Sharks were outsourced to a multitude of Asian animation studios in an attempt to cut costs. By late 1996, the early 90s mutant hero craze had run its course and Street Sharks toy sales started to dip. In 1997, the show was retooled and retitled Dino Avengers featuring Street Sharks, with the addition of an extraterrestrial team of dinosaurs named the Dino Avengers, who were paired with the Street Sharks to confront a new threat. Dr. Paradigm and his Seviites henchmen took a backseat, while the Sharks and the Dinos battled the Raptors, the arch-enemies of the Dino Avengers, led by Bad Rap and determined to conquer Earth. It was a desperate bid to refresh the formula, but it backfired. Fans who loved the aquatic absurdity didn't appreciate the Sharks becoming supporting characters in their own show, and the series ran for another 8 episodes before it was cancelled completely. The Dino Avengers received their own toy line as early as 1996, and then their own spin-off series, Extreme Dinosaurs, in 1997, developed by Street Sharks writer Martha Moran, who helped develop the show and was head writer for the Street Sharks final season. Extreme Dinosaurs ran from September 1 to December 24, 1997, until it too was cancelled. Interestingly, 52 episodes of Extreme Dinosaurs were produced compared to 40 Street Sharks episodes. If you're new to Street Sharks and not sure where to start, I'd recommend watching the first 3 episodes, which lays out the origins and general premise of the series. And the 13-episode first season follows a generally linear story arc while introducing primary as well as secondary characters who would reappear in later episodes. The second season introduced 2 interesting recurring villains. One of them was Maximilian Greco, an aging mafia boss who discovers the identity of Dr. Paradigm and blackmails him into enhancing him with the strength of a rhinoceros and the longevity of a desert tortoise. Greco is introduced in the episode The Shark Father and reappears 2 episodes later in Card Sharks and becomes a rival villain to Paradigm, even going so far as to recruit the Seviites to his cause. Another was Malcolm Medusa III, a rich businessman and big game hunter who frequently targets endangered species. Medusa is flanked by Clamando, a former dock worker who got mutated by toxic waste and transformed into an anthropomorphic clam. My favorite episode is A Shark Among Us, which featured Ripster going undercover to infiltrate a drug ring, and as you can see, blends right in. To play along, Ripster has to fight and beat up his shark brothers, which was fun to watch, as was watching him play the role of his own polar opposite, a henchman and enforcer for a crime boss called Jackal, and the soundtrack in this episode especially slaps.
Don't let him out of your sight. Not for a second.
But it's Ripster's shades and overcoat fincognito look that gets me every time. And the look and episode itself was homaged by Mattel in their 2024 Street Sharks toy reboot. Rumors have been circulating for years of a possible reboot, spurred further by Mattel releasing Street Sharks toys and other merchandise as part of a 30th anniversary in 2024, as well as a new comic book series by IDW which debuted in September 2025. A reboot could be interesting, but would it work today, or did it make more sense in the mid-1990s? I'm really interested to know how you feel about a possible Street Sharks reboot, and what you would like to see done differently this time around, if anything. Should it be taken more seriously, or was the silliness what made the Street Sharks work? 90s brain rot, or a misunderstood classic? Please let us know in the comments how you felt about Street Sharks. If it was a show that you enjoyed, then please share with us some of your favorite episodes, and also let us know if you were lucky enough to have any of the Street Sharks toys when you were younger. I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. Please like this video if you learned something today, and feel free to share this video with any friends who may feel nostalgic about the sharks. I'll be back again soon, so remember to subscribe for more content like this, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss the next video. Have a Jawsome day, a fantastic weekend perhaps, and stay tuned for more cartoon history.